G'day everyone, Dane here from Clarkey's Rugby League column. Welcome to Clarkey Reacts. What are we on today? It is the 19th of September. Obviously I haven't been here for the last few days. If you are wondering why that is, I was up in Brisbane. I left for Thursday night for the No Limit boxing card, which was a really fun night. There was some really good fights on that card. A lot of stoppages on the main card, just like I told a lot of people who were telling me it wouldn't be a good card. I told you guys that it'd be a good one. It was awesome. And then just hanging out at my family's house who live out in the country. So let me just say, uploading the results. I didn't do the Sharks and Bunnies game because I was at an MMA event, Eternal 70 on the Gold Coast. But uploading posts throughout the weekend, guys, was slow. We're talking like a 5-minute upload speed to my Google Drive to save the photo, a 1-minute download, and then a 1-minute upload. And so as halftime was approaching in the Eels and Raiders game, you would have noticed the full-time post was a little bit late because it was a few tries late, right? Whereas for halftime, I did it up like 5 minutes before and I had it all ready. And I was just like, please no one score, please no one score. So that's the sort of internet that we're dealing with when I visit my parents. And so you can imagine I'm not going to be able to get a video like this one up out there. As a kid, I actually used to do YouTube. I used to leave the laptop or whatever I was uploading next to the modem, and it would generally take between 24 and 48 hours to upload for an idea of how long this would take. So that's where I've been, guys. That's why that hasn't been there. But with that in mind, I've wasted more than enough time. So let's jump into all the NRL news for today, as that is why you are here for this video. Kevin Walters, we've got some interesting news here. Now, Gordon Tallis has come out and defended him on Triple M radio, and he does say that basically anyone that's a director of football or a football manager at a club, he believes that title is absolutely made up. And he says it's a made up title. It is absolutely made up. That was the direct quote there. I did actually meet Gordy at the boxing on Thursday night. It was awesome. In some ways, this does reek of a little bit of hypocrisy because Gordon Tallis is an ambassador for the Gold Coast Titans. And he does speak about the Broncos more. His heart's with the Broncos, so I can't blame him there. But I think if you strip back that sort of layer of maybe being a little bit of a hypocrite, which we're all guilty of every now and then, and you look at the actual issue here, I think it really depends. I mean, there's guys like Peter Parr, Gus Gould, Ben Eichen. I think they're very legitimate directors of football. But then there's a lot that I wouldn't even know their names, if I'm honest with you guys. So it does make it hard for me to have a firm sort of take or opinion here. I do agree with Gordy, though, where he's pretty much... The crux of what he's getting at here is that the front office should bear more responsibility on results. And I've said that to you guys for a long time here on the pages, that you look at the Tigers right now. With the 17 they take the field with, they're not competitive because they've been let down by decisions in their front office. And so to a certain degree here, I absolutely agree with what Gordon Tallis is saying. I think there was a famous quote from a coach called Jack Gibson, who was a very good coach back in the day. I think like the 70s or 80s in professional rugby league here in Australia. And he said, winning starts in the front office. And I still believe that that quote is true to this day. Maybe I don't agree with how Gordon Tallis has worded this or gone about it, but if the crux of what he's saying is that the front office should take more responsibility and it shouldn't always just fall on the coaches and players, then yeah, Gordy, I back you 100% there. That's a good take. Interesting one here, guys. I can see a lot of negative comments coming from this. Ali Brigginshaw did end up in tears at the post-game press conference there for the Broncos. Fun fact, as I was getting on the plane at 10:30 last night, at Brisbane Airport to leave to come back here to Canberra, the Broncos NRL team had actually landed and were walking past as I was boarding the plane. And they did have some smiles on their face. They didn't seem like they were too devastated. I guess the dust had settled from their loss, but post-game, Ali Brigginshaw was in tears because the Broncos will miss the finals in the NRLW for the first time. She said, I'm devastated, I guess. To put on a performance like that, we know we're better. That's what hurts so much. I don't know if the Broncos are better than what they've shown this year. Because with 6 teams joining the competition, the talent that they had absolutely built up there, because they were a big club funded by a lot of money, where the women's game is at, it would be like if you combined the Panthers and the Rabbitohs together right now. That was the roster that the Broncos had when they won the premiership 3 times in a row there in the NRLW's game. I don't think they were... It was as if they had so much better tactics and they played so much better as a team than the other NRLW teams. They were literally just stacked. And so now that we're finally seeing that talent more widespread, and we will even further next year, guys, remember, as we go to 8 or 10 teams and the competition continues to grow, I can't see how the Broncos turn this around and suddenly get back on top of this league. And so when Ali Brigginshaw says we know we're better than that, I've got to disagree. I don't think they're better than that. I think that's just the reality that as the competition has grown and they haven't been able to stockpile all the talent, they're now nowhere near as good. Even the 2 losses of Tamika Upton and Millie Boyle are massive. Those were the 2 biggest losses this year. Look where the Knights are all of a sudden. You know, they had a few good players last year, but I think they finished last in the NRLW last year, and now they're near the top. They're definitely playing finals, right? That's the inclusion of just what 2 good players can do to a squad, whereas the Broncos had like 13 good players when they went back to back to back. Then this is where I think she will get a little bit of hate online, and she did say, we put so much into this and made sacrifices to be here today, which I absolutely agree with. A lot of the women do work full-time as well as playing. But I can see a lot of trolls getting a hold of that and going, oh, men played 25 weeks, you only played 5. How did you make sacrifices? And realistically, I just know the footy community, right? I've made content since I was 17. I'm now 25. And I am going to predict to you guys that if you're listening to me say this now, if you head to my Facebook or Instagram and look in the comments or other, media outlets that shared this news, I bet you will see sort of comments like that, which I think are unfair. Interesting one here from Dean Ritchie. Now, this could be true. It could just be another clickbait story from News Corp. Am I shocked? No. The Rabbitohs are reportedly set to use the video of Viliami Kikau singing their team song and seemingly mocking them after the 2021 Grand Final. I did use the word seemingly there because, it was pretty obvious. I thought that he was mocking them, but maybe he wasn't. We don't know for sure. And the Rabbitohs are going to use that as motivation. Now, the video comes from a live stream that Viliami Kikau did on the team bus after the 2021 Grand Final, where people were in the live comments saying, go the Rabbitohs, and he started saying, go the Bunnies, and started singing glory, glory to South Sydney. I mean, it's not like he come out here, guys, and said, F the Rabbitohs, they suck, we pumped them, we're a better football team. It was maybe a little bit of banter that went too far because he had a few too many beers after winning a premiership. And people are genuinely outraged by this. Come on, guys. I mean, we've all said some stupid stuff when we're drunk, right? I've done some stupid stuff and said a lot of stupid stuff when I'm drunk. And so that, even if the Rabbitohs are watching this, I highly doubt they're, in a team huddle watching Viliami Kikau singing glory, glory to South Sydney, sitting there going, we're going to kill him this week. They're probably just going to... I don't think there's too much of a motivation source there. I don't think this is too much of a story. But again, reiterating the purpose of Around the League is to bring you all the NRL news regardless of how I feel about it. Clarkey Reacts. This segment here is to tell you how I feel about it and break it down a little bit further. Interesting report here from Buzz Rothfield today. Now, this was reported yesterday by another journalist that Tyrell Sloan was set to ask for a release. Buzz Rothfield's come out today and basically confirmed that. The reason is he no longer wants to play for Anthony Griffin, which is therefore set to see him ask for an immediate release. And then various other reports from Sporting News, Fox Sports. Buzz Rothfield even said his tip is the Dolphins. Every media report that's got a hold of that story is basically saying he's going to go to the Dolphins and play for Wayne Bennett. If I am going off Buzz Rothfield being correct here and he is set to ask for a release, if I'm the Dragons, I'm saying no. Let's say Cody Ramsey goes down injured next year. What sort of fullback depth do they have? Moses Mbai could shift there. Maybe you could see Jack Bird shift there. I mean, I certainly wouldn't like Jack Bird there. I'm just scrolling through their roster now. That's it. Unless you want to trial Zach Lomax at centre. Or unless they've signed a fullback, which I can't remember if they have. I don't think they have. And so if I'm the Dragons, I'm saying absolutely no way we are releasing you. But if the Dragons do agree to release, then yeah, I can definitely see a world where he goes to the Dolphins next year. I was going to Google it. I won't because I don't want to hold this one here up too much. But from the top of my head, the Dolphins have not signed a fullback from next year. And this would be a great signing for them because he would come on a relatively cheap deal. We've seen what Wayne Bennett is able to do with players over his career, particularly fullbacks. Look at Latrell Mitchell, look at Darius Boyd. There's probably other examples, but it's slipping my mind right now. But he's had a lot of success with fullbacks and getting them up to scratch and getting them up to standard. And from what we have seen from Tyrell Sloan, he has all the talent in the world. It was mainly defensive issues and maybe a little bit of mindset issues there that were restricting him from hitting his peak consistently. I believe Wayne Bennett could absolutely unlock those attributes in this game, and we would see Tyrell Sloan in easily career best form should he move to the Dolphins next year. But if I'm the Dragons, I'm saying no way. Not really too much to talk about here, guys. I mean, we kind of already figured it, right? Buzz Rothfield today has basically come out and confirmed the Rabbitohs will remain at Accor Stadium as their home ground for 2023. They weren't welcome at Allianz anyway, so it's not like, they had options. This literally made the most sense. Another interesting component about this story that I have read online is we have seen their CEO complaining recently that they want to stay at Accor and they love the stadium, but it hasn't been upgraded and that's why they want to leave. Now, it was reported he actually signed a contract where he noted that absolutely they would not be upgrading the stadium whilst the Rabbitohs are there. So you can't sign a contract and then turn around and say, but it's because he signed that, he knew that. Another interesting thing that I saw in Buzz Rothfield's article was that he went to a team meeting and took a bus. Let's estimate he's on at least $200,000 a year. It's probably more like $400,000. Dude, pay for the Uber. Wear a face mask. The last thing you want to be doing as the CEO is getting on a bus, getting COVID, taking it to a team meeting with all the coaches and other members around the club, giving it to all the coaches, and then go and give it to half the team, and then half your team's ruled out. I'm not sitting here saying COVID's a super dangerous virus and we should shut down the... I'm not saying anything like that, guys, but we know the rules of the league are simple. If you have COVID, you can't play. A lot of these guys are so fit, they probably could play and probably wouldn't pose too much of a risk to the other players because they're so healthy as well. But I'm just going off league protocols, guys. I thought that was a really dangerous move from their CEO, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the home ground, and that's... Sometimes I go off on a tangent like that, guys, and I apologise. Let's get back on track here. We've got Dave Fafita. He is reportedly in the sights of the Dragons. They are preparing to offer him a huge, quote-unquote, $1 million contract from 2024 onwards. This was via Adam Pengilly from the Sydney Morning Herald, which I haven't seen too much footy stuff from. It could be my own ignorance, but makes sense. I mean, it seems like they're going to lose Jaden Sewer to the Dolphins. And we have to remember, when these reports say multi-million dollars, that's not in one season. A multi-million deal could be $2.1 million over 4 years, which is breaking down to, quite a good deal if you're getting Dave Fafita for that, about $600,000 a year. I think Dave Fafita has all the talent in the world. I think on his day, he's the best back rower in the competition. I think because his best game is so far from his worst game, he gets a lot of hate. But the things that he does in his best game, no other back rowers can do. Whereas just, for another example, someone like a Liam Martin, his best in his worst game is here. But in his best game, he's not scoring a hat trick like Dave Fafita can, right? Well, he almost did, but he bombed a few, so maybe that's a bad example. But you know what I mean? Dave Fafita's best game is out here, but his worst game's, here. And so I think that's the reason he gets a lot of hate. But if you strip it back, Dragons fans, if it's a good deal, and he is able to find some form there running outside of Ben Hunt and Talatau Amone, I like it a lot. Well, as a Titans fan, I hate it a lot. But just breaking it down from a footy perspective, I think it's the right direction for the Dragons. They're going to lose a few back rowers with Josh Maguire going to Super League. Josh Kerr might be signing with the Dolphins, as will Jaden Sewer. So they will have that space in their salary cap where they could be able to lock down someone really, really classy like Dave Fafita. And I do think when the Dragons played their best footy in the last 10 years or so, they had elite back rowers at the club, those being Tyson Frizzell and Tarek Sims. I can't believe this one, guys. This is from the same journalist as before, Adam Pengilly. He reports that Campbell Graham broke his freaking rib in finals week 1 and is playing with the injury and is going to keep playing with the injury for as long as the club requires. Rib injuries, I've never had one, but I'm told they are the most painful injury you can possibly have. And if it's a broken bone, I assume you can't needle it. When we talk about a player getting pain-killing injections, I would think it's more for nerves, muscular injuries. I'm not a doctor, so literally don't take that with anything. I'm probably guessing there. But a broken rib, I wonder how much of that you could pain kill, and even if you could, I mean, think about it, guys. You'd have to hesitate knowing I'm putting out the right palm looking for an offload, but my rib's broken and they've just come in and whacked. You'd think it would make him very susceptible to errors and to making bad defensive reads, maybe trying to protect the injury a little bit too much. But no, he's in fine form, playing fantastic. I've never seen anything like this. It is so impressive. Campbell Graham, you are a freaking beast, man. Interesting one here from Michael Chamis. I don't really see this one coming to fruition. Sorry, Eels fans, but I do think Eels will be in the grand final. I think they probably will beat the Cowboys, but I just can't see anyone beating Penrith still. But anyway, to the point, Mitchell Moses has a clause in his contract where if the Eels were to win a premiership, his salary would then go over $1 million per season. I mean, it makes sense for the Eels, right? It's a little incentive for him to play his best footy. It's not too much extra in your salary cap as he is already on $900,000. And, I mean, they're probably not going to win the premiership anyway, so they probably won't have to pay that amount. But maybe it is that little bit of extra motivation for Moses to play his best and for the Eels to get over the line and win a grand final. I'm certainly not ruling them out. I just can't have anyone over Penrith from what I've seen so far, and particularly from what I saw against those two sides in finals week 1. Maybe you could say when Mitchell Moses went off, that's why Penrith took over, but we have seen them really go hard in that last 20 minutes in recent finals examples. So, interesting there for Mitch Moses. Fingers crossed the Eels do win and he gets that little bonus. The 8th Immortal, Andrew Johns, he's come out and said that the person who made the decision to move Adam Reynolds on should be applauded. And he also believes that Lachlan Ilias is the best defensive half in the competition. I'll stop short of agreeing with Joey there. I think there are better defensive halfbacks. Jerome Hughes comes to mind. Nathan Cleary comes to mind. Maybe even Nico Hines is a bit bigger of a body than Lachlan Ilias. But Lachlan Ilias definitely does put his body on the line and make some really, really impressive tackles. So he's definitely up there as one of the best. As for praising the decision to move Adam Reynolds on, this is where, oh my goodness, this is where it gets really interesting for me. So the Bunnies have made the preliminary final the last 5 years in a row. 4 of those with Adam Reynolds. So they've essentially received the exact same result with Lachlan Ilias. However, they had a much more disrupted season. No Wayne Bennett, no Latrell for a lot of it, a lot of injuries throughout. Cody Walker not in his best form. A lot of players like Damien Cook, Cody Walker, Latrell Mitchell off contract, which causes, sometimes some dramas. And so there was a lot of excuses this year for Rabbitohs not to make the prelims. They've done it again with a rookie halfback. It's almost more impressive that they've made it this year than last year. And so just presenting you that fact, you'd have to agree with Joey, right? It was the right decision. But if you asked me this question in round 10, I would have told you they've made a big mistake. If you had asked me this in round 5, I would have told you they've made a massive mistake. If you had asked me this in the preseason, I would have told you they're probably not going to play finals this year. That's how dour it could be. I think in my predictions, I had them in the 5th to 8th bracket range. So I wasn't expecting them to go to a preliminary final with that. I think that's fair to say. They have shocked everyone with that knowledge, guys. It's impossible for us to disagree. It was the right decision to move Adam Reynolds on. Particularly, you'd have to imagine Lachlan Ilias played more games than Reynolds this year, as Reynolds' injuries are starting to become more and more common there at the Broncos, and he's obviously a lot more older than Lachlan Ilias. But that wraps up Clarkey Reacts for the 19th of September, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. That's my reaction and breakdown to all the NRL news for today. Hopefully you did enjoy this one. If you did, leave a like on the video, leave a comment if you want to have a chat there. And if not, I'll see you guys on Facebook, Instagram, all the other ones throughout the week. And I'll see you again tomorrow here. So cheers, guys.